folks? Welcome back to the Mind Your Miles podcast. My name is Nick Hilton. I'm here with my boys, Danny Mercado and Will Baldwin. Fellas, how are we doing this evening?
Great.
I'm good. I was frozen, but I'm back.
Yeah, you had another frozen face. That was very funny. That was good.
All right, we've got a real humdinger of a podcast here going for you this evening. We've got a couple questions from Will's athletes we're going to answer tonight, which will be fun. And then we're going to talk about what workouts we like to schedule 8 weeks out from a marathon, because believe it or not, we are 8 weeks and 5 days away from the Boston Marathon. So for you folks who are training for it, this is the time we're getting into the meaty workouts, and we kind of wanted to talk about some of our favorites there. But first off, we are going to start with Will Baldwin. Will, you had a couple questions you wanted to have us answer, so why don't you kick us off there?
Can you see me? Am I good?
You look great, man.
Yeah,
Handsome
you're
as
not
ever.
frozen. That's good.
Okay. Let's start with the more interesting one first. So we were talking about this before, but especially with the lottery system now, we often run into this situation where someone is in a marathon that they may not PR in or not be fully ready for. So some examples, like Boston is coming up. We qualify and register for Boston really far away. So by the time we get to that race, sometimes we may be coming off an injury or not 100%. Or me and Nick both have people in Tokyo in a couple weeks. And we've both had this situation where you're building someone up off of an injury, and so we're in that we have enough time to do the marathon. Like, maybe we started 4 months ago with our first return to run protocol, but we're not in peak marathon shape. We haven't done a bunch of long runs, haven't had a lot of volume, done a lot of cross training. So was curious to hear from you guys, like, what are you thinking about through that block? What are you doing differently? And then, like, when you get to the race, like, it's hard because you're like, usually you kind of give a range of like, here's how we should pace it, or here's what you should shoot for. But in these scenarios, it's like feels so wide open of what they might be able to run. It's hard to tell. So yeah, curious to hear your thoughts, Nick.
Danny. Yeah, it kind of it always depends. It depends on the athlete, depends on the injury, depends on what they have going on after. Because I think with a lot of athletes too, like for Tokyo, for instance, they don't, maybe it's through like a tour agency or through the lottery, they don't find out they're going to get into it until pretty late. We might have already scheduled other things down the road. So this is like fitting between them coming back from another race or being hurt, and then something else that's coming out maybe 3-4 months down the road. So we're trying to fit this in a weird spot. And typically I would treat it as like a normal. I would treat as just like a normal race buildup. So if we're looking, if Tokyo is not our A goal and our A goal is 3 months later, we're training for the A goal 3 months later, and we're only tweaking a couple things in the buildup for Tokyo to kind of get them ready enough to get through the race and have a positive experience, but we're not doing things specifically to nail Tokyo. So some things we might do a couple like longer time on feet, long runs, just, maybe this early, we wouldn't be doing like a 16 or 18 miler, but we're going to throw a couple of those in there just to make sure, part of it is just mentally, like, hey, mentally, are we ready to run 26 miles physically, just to get them some time on feet? And then we just really level set expectations going into the race. That's always a big one. I think it's a big one for any race, but for something that falls in like this, it's like, okay, hey, we're not at top fitness, we're coming off of an injury, we have this down the road. So let's make sure that we're being cautious here. We're going to be conservative. The goal here is to have a good experience and enjoy the race itself. And you're not going to do that if you go out at your normal pace or way too hard and blow yourself up and walk in the last 10K. So let's be conservative. Let's enjoy the experience. Let's feel the energy, but not in a way that's going to cause you to go too hard. And so making sure we're level setting those expectations. Then I'll always add the caveat, like, hey, if you're having yourself a day, because you never know, sometimes you do catch the day, and you're feeling good with 10K to go, yeah, let it rip. At that point, it's totally fine.
Can we hype people up for a minute? Because have you guys ever had that season where that happened to you? My best season in college was like, got hurt right at the right at the end of the summer start a cross, and so like we came to school to practice, didn't run the first 2 weeks, and that really delayed build ended up being awesome for me for whatever reason. And so sometimes off of those really short builds where you kind of have crazy low expectations, sometimes you really surprise yourself. You're not overtrained, your momentum's just going up. You guys ever had that?
My best season of my career came off my broken foot. So,
Same.
I had about 5 good months where I was just racing out of my mind. So yeah, absolutely. What about you, Danny?
Yeah, similar. I definitely agree that if you're kind of coming off of an injury and you already know you're going to do Boston or you already know you're going to do Tokyo, then I think at the beginning of the build, you're probably reframing like what it means to like nail the race. So going into that build, I'm probably doing a lot more effort-based training, like effort-based fartleks. The long runs are going to have to be time on feet. And you never know, like during the build, they might just start catching some fire there and things like start to actually like ramp up a little bit because usually you're kind of cautious. And I'm assuming that that's actually what we want to do for like some of these builds and like going into Boston. Like maybe you kind of let go of the time goals. You just want them to finish the race and to have a good experience finishing the race. But I usually want them to do that, especially coming off an injury like that. I want them to do that like feeling confident that they're going into this with like with a better perspective of like what they've gone through and like how like what it took to actually get to the line healthy. Like now the goal is like we reframe like, well, I want you to finish the race. Usually with that notion, if somebody had a time goal, like just finishing the race is like almost not enough. But I feel like if you're framing it in a way where it's like, look, you have to understand that this was like you were injured before and now we're approaching Boston, a race that you got to get lucky to get into. Tokyo, you have to get lucky to get into it. So we have to be, we have to kind of be gracious about what it took for us to get there and to do all the stuff that we needed to do to get there in one piece. And usually I feel like letting go of specific time goals and expectations, like you said, it kind of opens you up to like really catching fire, like at a time you didn't expect to.
We got to leave room for wow. And, dropping those expectations leaves room for wow.
What did you just say?
We have to leave room for wow
What
in our
is
day-to-day
that from?
lives. Don't worry about it.
No, where did you get that? You didn't make that up.
Dumb. You're right, I didn't. It's from another podcast.
Oh my God.
Not a running podcast, so we can. They're not gonna listen to this. But
so wow. no cross pollination.
I would be shocked if there was cross pollination.
If you know where that is, Nick will give you a pair of shoes.
I will. If you drop it in the comments, yeah, you know who that is. I will 100% give you a free pair of shoes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and like I think in builds like that, when they're really short, like I was kind of saying earlier, you only have momentum going up usually. Like every week is kind of a little bit better than the last one. Whereas in a normal marathon cycle, you kind of ride in the wave a little bit. And so, yeah, sometimes like, and you don't have to taper as much too. So I always tell people like, you're kind of just kind of on the up all the way into the race, except for like a week out. And so, but yeah, like you were saying, Dan, it's also like a celebration, like the race, like you couldn't walk or whatever not too long ago. And now we can run a marathon and these races are just so hard to get into. So you got to like celebrate, enjoy that a little bit.
Yeah. They're festive for a reason,
And I think too, this kind of builds on a longer conversation that particularly Will and I have had around majors, and the experience of running these races and how hard it is to run well at these races, even when you're fully tuned up and ready because of the logistics and the number of people and all the pressure that goes into it. Like being able to drop those expectations going into a race like this just makes it more fun. Like I said, you can leave room for wow and just be out there and enjoy the experience on race day, especially something like Tokyo when you're in a different culture, in a different place, maybe you've never been before, may never be again. Like dropping that pressure and just being able to enjoy it is fun. Not that we want to come into these things coming off an injury, but it does. Having races where you don't have the pressure to run fast is always an enjoyable experience.
Which also would be cool because I'm sure similar to you guys, I've raced in a lot of places And sometimes people ask me like, "Oh, what was this city like?" And I'm like, I don't really know. Like I went to the hotel and then I stared at some dude's back for like 2 hours and then I went home. Like it could have been any city. I have no idea.
I think
Yeah,
a
it's
good
always like you
one-
stay at some generic hotel. You're watching. You're looking at the streets. Your flights right afterwards. Like you don't
Yeah.
get to see anything. Yeah,
We did,
I'm gonna get out of there too, guy. Like
Oh,
I'm crazy. I'll book a noon flight after a marathon and like get me home.
I need to eat after the races for sure. I'm an old fat boy, but we had a couple. There were a couple, and coming off of an injury myself, it was like an Achilles injury, and training started back up again. And it just kind of started. I started really just kind of getting into the groove of training, and was training and running well. And we went to this race in Baltimore with Under Armour, and it was like a marathon relay, and that was probably the best like 8 miles I've ever run in my life. Like I think I ran 8 miles like 450 pace, like uphill, and I was just not even thinking about it. I was like, I like just being in Baltimore. It looks really cool. I was just really enjoying just the atmosphere of the whole thing, and I feel like that allowed me to just like let go and take a little bit more risks. Like I feel like if you have too many time goals, or if you're going into this race like putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself, then you're not taking the risks you necessarily would normally take. I feel like when you let go of that stuff, like you can just race, and if you can just race, or if you can just kind of run by feel, and in
Well,
that build
it
up, you've
also
already been
forces
running
you
by
to
feel.
like be way more into your field because we don't have like 30 workouts where you like really figured out your pace and your effort. Your fitness is a little more dynamic on the day, and so you have to like with a lot of these people. I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen to you after 15 miles. Like
But
you
we're gonna
might
have a
you
good
might
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
you might be rolling, or it might be a jog to the finish, but it's like you're gonna have to listen to your body a little bit because I just don't have the enough data to predict that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Nick, you got anything else to add?
I got nothing else. This was great, guys.
Can
Leave room for wow.
leave room for wow on those short builds? I love that. We're stealing it. It's ours now.
It is ours. Trademark. Mind your mouth. Leave room for wow.
Quick aside before we go to the next topic. I don't know if you guys saw my tweet about this. I tweeted about somebody else's tweet, but Jim Ryan's like nephew or son or something was like kind of doing what everybody in track does, like complaining that his, I don't even know, whoever he's related to Jim Ryan, if he had super spikes and a Mondo track, his 355 or whatever would be a 340, and Cole Hawker's 345 actually isn't that impressive. I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts. I'll tell you mine first. I don't give a crap. And obviously, yes, like technology gets better. It doesn't get worse. That's how the world works. Like basketball shoes are better, football cleats are better,
Training methods are better.
everything gets better. Everyone will get faster. Every record we have will be broken because everything progresses. And so it's just kind of like a silly thing to like, I don't know, like and it's dumb. And then he was trying to compare. Like, oh, I think spikes are worth 3% and bicarbs worth 2%. I was just like, oh my god. It's just, I just can't imagine like Larry Bird being like, if I just had baking soda, I could have scored 80 points a game if I just had the right basketball shoes. It's just like, I don't know. I think it just makes our sport very uninteresting sometimes.
It absolutely does. It's just like Jim Ryan's already cool. Like just let
Yeah,
Jim
he's
Ryan.
a legend.
Yeah,
He was
I was
awesome.
gonna say that. I was like, dude, this guy he ran 351 as like a 18-year-old. I'm like, I don't, or
On a
whatever
cinder
he
track.
was.
Who
Yeah,
needs to fight for Jim Ryan?
like
We all
I
respect Jim
don't.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm like, Jim Ryan is. I don't know. Did somebody say that he was bad, or like did somebody
No, he
compare
was just
Cole
kind of
to
like,
him?
I don't know why he came up. I don't know if no, was gonna say I don't know if Cole Hocker broke his record, but it was an indoor record, and there's no way it was Jim Ryan's. So I have no idea. I think it was just because American Miler was being like talked about. It was like he was just
maybe
kind of
somebody
like,
asked, like,
oh,
man, I wonder.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cole's this good, but I don't think he's as good as Jim Ryan. It's like I used to make fun of Scott Jurek a lot because his times are like relatively pretty bad, but like that's just what that era was. He was the man. He won all the time. Like
He was drinking Gatorade and eating who knows what in these ultra races.
and
Like
he won
obviously,
Western 7 times.
yeah.
Like he was a baller. Like if he had, yes, obviously if he had today's methods and the people to push him, he would be faster. But like that's just what it was, you know. And
Yeah,
so
he
it's like,
didn't though. Yeah.
yeah,
He had
and it's
Brooks
just
He didn't have
Cascadias.
anything.
He was
or
wearing
somebody
Brooks Cascadias.
who was just talking about pre. Somebody was talking about if you know.
Me, probably.
Oh,
I
somebody
think
was
I
just talking
said
about
like
what he.
I was like.
Oh,
he
we were
would
talking about
probably-
Goucher and pre.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pre on the
Pre
last
would have
episode,
killed
yeah.
him. Pre, I stand by that. Pre would have killed
Sure, go Ducks. But it's
him.
like yeah, like Galen took all of his records. That's just how. It doesn't mean Galen's better. It's just like that's how.
Well, it does mean Galen's better, but yeah.
No, but
Different
objectively,
eras.
well,
Different
sports are
eras.
just stupid. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we argued about this once, Nick, about the rushing record when Saquon broke it. But like, we're gonna get to a point where there's 24 games in the NFL that
Yeah.
we're like, can you believe someone passed for 50,000 yards in a season? It's like none of it matters.
Well, he didn't break the rushing record, so we don't have to worry about it. So
I know, but
Yeah.
none of those records matter because it's apples to oranges. You can't compare eras. It doesn't make any sense. It makes it unfun, and we should just appreciate those guys. Pre's awesome. Jim Ryan is awesome.
Yeah, and you have to look at it, and this is what I mean. The world in general, most people aren't able to understand nuance, which I could probably go on for a rant about that for 3 hours. But like understanding the people within the context of their eras, and understanding like Jim Ryan was a high schooler who broke 4 minutes when like what 7 people had broken 4 minutes in history. Like think of it's like that New Zealand kid. Like the New Zealand kid's running 350 and he's what 16 years old or something. Like it's crazy, and respect it for the era. And yeah, is Jim Ryan on the cinder track in 1965 or whatever as the same as Cole Hocker with super spikes in Boston? No, but they can both be cool, and we don't have to poo-poo everything.
100%. Mark Twain said, comparison is the thief of joy. But also, it's why we have jobs. Because if I go find the equivalent of Will Baldwin right now, who's going to a D2 in rural Oklahoma, I have so much to tell you about how many mistakes I made that I could, with any similar amount of talent, I could help you be faster than me because there's a ton of crap I did wrong. And I think that's just the cycle of like what we do. We mentor people, and then those people become smart, and it just keeps trickling down until the best practices, cream kind of rises to the top, and we're all smarter and better for it, and the sport is elevated. So like every sport gets better and progresses. That's just like ours is just so objective and numbers based that like it hurts our feelings because records get broken every year, and like other sports don't have to feel and face that as much. We can appreciate legends, but like every legend we have in our sport will lose all of their records. It's just how it is and how it probably always will be.
Yeah. There was a time where I thought like Ashton Eaton's decathlon record would like never be touched. I was like, this is the greatest athlete I've ever seen in my life. And then it got broken. And I was like, what just happened?
The sad part is sometimes those people who break those records are like 1% as cool.
Oh yeah. Ashton's a 1 in a million person. I mean, it was very hard for me. And the same kind of like along the same lines, like it was hard for me to kind of accept because in my opinion, like I said, like I thought Ashton was like, man, I mean, he picked up anything and he was good at it. Like anything. It was incredible.
You know, the cool thing about sports is though, because he can, the guy who broke the record, he can still be the world record holder, but you can still like, you know what, Ashton's really the GOAT. You can still say that, and it can be.
Oh, when Danny said that,
fine.
I just thought of like Michael Jordan. It's like why people say that. It's like it's because they have this emotional connection. They grew up watching him, and it's like
And I'm just not going to tweet about it.
I could sit here and be like, you know what? Out of all these guys, Henry Rono's the GOAT because he was drinking like cases of beer the night before, going out and running 13 flat for 5K, like, and smoking cigarettes, and all this other crap. So yeah, that's the cool part about sports.
Battling deep depression before we had mental health services.
Correct. Yes, using the tools available to him: cigarettes, beer, and prostitute.
And steeplechasing.
Yeah, guys got to do what a guy's got to do.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next topic. Will, why don't you lead us into it?
Oh,
Okay, that was great. That was a good.
How's that for a segue?
That was a good rant. We sound so centered.
Sure, centered's a good word. Yeah, we can go with that.
yeah, where did we land on it? Like, just don't tweet that stuff. Like it's no point. It's a fetal game to play, right? Is that where we're at?
Grow up. Who cares?
Comparison is the thief of joy. Just enjoy different eras, and don't be the old man yells at cloud about. I can't tell you how many races I've muted because there's some old 50-year-old just complaining and droning about super shoes the entire race. It's like, dog, it's so diminishing to the athletes. Everyone's just going to wear the best legal equipment available to them. I hope shoes get better. It's such an old, dumb point, and it's people protecting those eras so they can still say, no, Jerry Lindgren was great, and Jim Ryan was great, and Billy Mills was great, and they all were, but we have better shoes and better training methods, and the kids are faster. It sucks.
Yeah, it's like both things can be true, really. And it's been, what, 10 years kind of since the super shoe discussion? 8 years?
Yeah.
2016 trials was like the first, the ones when
Like
the
inkling,
Nike
right?
athletes, Shalane and Amy and Galen, had the first Vaporfly prototypes on. Yeah.
So like this conversation's been happening for a decade. That means that a decade's worth of athletes from high school to college and the pros like have been competing in these shoes, and like the records are going down and all that stuff. It doesn't make them any less authentic now. Like it is a tired conversation. Like I always argued it from like the point of affordability. Like, is a high school kid gonna have to spend $250 to like be good?
Affordability
like,
and just access, like it's priced
like
now, and they
they
used to not sell them. That's the only part that I ever had a problem with. Like, that's bad for the sport, and it's just not fair. But now they're all pretty much sold. I mean, Nike still goes one behind. Like, they give their athletes the new one, and they wait a season to sell it. But I don't know. There's worse things in the world.
Yeah.
I guess Hoka does it too. You guys suck, but
wow.
Yeah. I mean, so does literally everybody else.
Yeah, every brand does.
Blacked out prototypes.
That's the only real complaint. I just think it'd be better. We could sell more, but who cares?
Hey, you're preaching to the footwear choir, buddy. Like, I hate that we have to black out. It's like, we have this shoe coming out in 3 months, but you can't see it because it's under embargo. Anyways, we don't have to get into marketing discussions on this.
Yeah, so we kind of solved that problem. We can
done.
I'll send it to that guy.
In the mode of Bill Simmons, we should be the czar of track and field. Just give us the reins. We'll solve the problems.
Dude, that should be our next episode. I have a lot of ideas.
All right, put it in the doc. Let's do it.
I really think I could fix it. College athletics in general, I think I got the cure for. Okay, our next one we have, this is a tough one. Recommendations. How do we talk to athletes about nutrition? I do a lot with my athletes about in race fueling. So, right before long runs and races, during, and maybe a little bit after. I do a lot with that. I struggle with day-to-day stuff because I am not a certified nutritionist. I actually went to 2 days of grad school for nutrition, so I'm pretty close. And then I quit. Oh, I didn't quit. I switched grad programs. But I'm not certified. And it's just a very complicated personal issue. And it's like kind of becomes like a safety thing. Anytime we're talking about what people are eating, I don't know if I get nervous is the right word. Just like you want to, just scary. Like it feels like you're like playing doctor or something. So, but it's a question I get all the time, and it sucks because it makes a massive impact on like running and recovery and how people feel. And everybody constantly wants to lose weight while they're training, and trying to find the right thing to say is tough. So what do you guys do? How do you approach that subject? What are you saying?
I can lead this one off. So it really depends on like the context of the conversation. If the context begins with weight loss, I kind of quash that one right away. I just don't think we need to be focusing on how to lose weight while running a lot of volume, because that's just how we end up injured or sick, or we make bad decisions there. So my response when that comes up is like, hey, like this is not my purview. Like, honestly, I think like trying to lose weight actively via calories while running hard it can only cause issues and injuries and being injured. Like, if that's something you want to talk about, I would talk to a dietitian, nutrition. That's a little outside of what I do. Now, I think in the specific case of what you had posted in the doc was around like an athlete who doesn't feel like they're getting enough calories and they're constantly hungry. And not that we can solve that issue per se, but the first thing I would have a lot of athletes do is keep a food journal for 3, 4, 5 days. And then we would track total calories, macros, like how much carbohydrates, proteins, fats, fiber are we getting on a daily basis, and just kind of seeing what they're eating. Because you can solve a lot of things by starting there, but you can at least get a really good broad idea of what's going on. So if someone's hungry all the time and they're not getting enough and they're only eating 1,300 calories a day and they should be getting 2,400 calories per day, there's the first thing you can fix is like, okay, we need to figure out how to get more calories in here on a daily basis. Like outside of that and outside of like the race stuff, I tend to get pretty uncomfortable. I'm like, hey, you got to go talk to a certified dietitian, nutrition. They're going to be able to make recommendations for you. But I'm okay to give tips like, hey, here's how we can clean some things up. Here's where we're at from a macro sense in terms of our daily macronutrients and our calorie intake versus, what we have going out. And that's kind of where I draw the line on things. Danny, Will, anything else to add on that front?
I tend to steer away from it as well. I don't like necessarily, I haven't had any athletes talk to me about like weight issues, like weight questions or anything like that. I haven't had anybody come up to me about that yet. My perspective is definitely like, I have opinions about maybe what you should eat before a race, or like how far out from a race like you should eat. And I always kind of just go back to like what I used to have, but definitely
what are you guys doing before races, workouts?
Oatmeal and coffee and a banana for me.
God, that's so sick. That's so classic.
I needed to go to the bathroom. Like that was like why I did it.
Oatmeal with peanut butter, coffee, and a banana as well on my front.
Whoa.
Yeah. But a lot of times this is partially because especially if you're at a race where you're in the elite field, like sometimes you just eat what they have and they're going to have oatmeal and peanut butter. Or in my case, when I was going gluten-free, I would just bring my own oatmeal. So it was really easy to bring what I needed for race day.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of it. I always would just recommend that those folks, like you got to practice, like practice with different stuff. You have to, like, there's going to be some runs where maybe even like a long run where you can just, not like you can afford to bonk it or afford to like throw it away, but in some respect, kind of like you got to be practicing it anyways. You're going to be practicing intaking the stuff, like getting as much nutrition down as you can, and then seeing how it works with your stomach and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you are training like at a high volume and you're doing like a lot of running and you're doing all the other stuff, like your body, like the composition's going to change no matter what. It's going to fit the function that you're trying to make it fit. I don't know how much like extra stuff you need to be doing in order, like, especially from a weight perspective. If you're
especially
running
when
like
you start getting
week,
mileage, man, like when your mileage gets to where it should be
gonna
for peak
change.
performance, your body will, as long as you are fueling somewhat appropriately. I will say this: almost every successful high-level runner I've ever met is somewhat routine oriented, and that's what I try to preach to everyone. Like even that of like having the same breakfast, like pretty quickly you guys are both like, oh yeah, almost always did oatmeal coffee. Like every guy I know like that is like pretty on the ball. And so what I tell people is, it's like that old quote, even if we're wrong, what is it? Like, even if we're wrong, we got to have a plan, even if it's not the right plan, It's like, if you make some routines of like, here's what we're going to do pre-run, here's what I'm going to do after the run, and you start to do that over and over again, well, at least then you can start to alter that and make modifications. Like, oh, that didn't feel good. I thought that oatmeal should be 1 hour before, but I could still feel it. So it needs to be 90 minutes before. And, you can, or like, okay, I thought that what I was going to eat afterwards was enough, but I keep ending up way too hungry before lunch. So I got to add more to that. And like Nick said, tracking it. I used to use Chronometer. It was really cool because you could like either scan a barcode or just type in what you were eating, and it had like, everything that you would see at the grocery store, any produce, anything. And then it would do all your micros and macros for you. And so it was real cool to kind of get a shot, and then also could show you if you were missing anything, like, oh, you were super low in iron or vitamin C or something from your actual diet, not just supplementation. But yeah, man, steal somebody's plan. Like Nick said, you can ask ChatGPT, like, these are the kind of things I eat, how to make this cleaner. Here's what my goals are. Write it out, use something like Chronometer, and then adjust. But like, your body, and this is true of running and food, loves routine. It will reward you for being repetitive and doing the same thing over and over. And so, I mean, the basics are always true. Like, you got to hydrate. You got to eat whole foods. It doesn't matter what diet you're on. If it's fresh, organic, when you can get it, real, unprocessed food. So whether that's having some real produce, some real fruits and vegetables, even your meats, if they're less processed and clean, and you're sourcing them from a good place. Same with your grains. The more whole, fresh, organic foods you can eat, the better things are going to go for you. Yeah.
And I'll just reiterate, just spot checking yourself and calculating doing the log, making sure you're getting enough, because that's the important thing, is making sure you're getting enough. Like, you just do not want to find yourself in a spot where you're consistently underfueling for days at a time, because that's where sicknesses and injuries and so on and so forth, and even weight gain. If you're not eating enough calories, your body starts to hold on to your fat stores instead of just kind of letting it burn freely. So all of those things, like, just make sure you're getting enough, utilizing the tools to do some, basic calorie and macro computation, so you can be assured of that, and then tweaking from there. And yeah, ChatGPT is a great plug in everything you ate in a day. It's going to give you a raw calorie range, which can be really helpful.
And I have 2 nutritionists I work with, but like, even just going to 1 or 2 sessions and being like, because it's pretty expensive, man. I mean, they cost more than we do. So even if you can just go and be like, hey, here's my goals, here's what I like to eat, can you write me out a plan or like a guideline of like, here's what a couple of days would look like, and then taking that and running with it, like 1 or 2 of those sessions could pay dividends for you.
And your HSA might cover it, so you might be able to use that. Tax-free dollars, baby. We love that.
Just getting some tools on, and if you know anybody, man, like, the best stuff comes from stealing. If you have a healthy friend, someone who's conscious and has those routines and seems like they're locked in, like, kind of emulate. I remember I was that guy in college who was like real health conscious and, just ate very clean and really cared about diet. And then when I moved to Flag and just was around all the pro runners, I couldn't believe how many people, because in college, all my teammates were just like eating honey buns and, like cat food and pizza and like, we ate like college kids. But then it felt like everybody in Flag was kind of on their P's and Q's, and like people eating spinach and kale and stuff. And like, I don't know. I was just like, oh man, everybody's kind of like trying to be great. And so, yeah, if you know anybody who's like dialed like that, like, people love to be asked for guidance and help. And so reach out if you know somebody that's smart. Check
your friends for 6-packs. Lift up their shirts. Who's got a 6-pack? Like, that's the guy I'm asking for nutrition advice.
Yeah, you see somebody like whip out a salad at lunch, be like, go befriend them. Like, what's up with that?
See something, say something. Words to live by.
Oh, there's another one that he stole.
And make room for wow.
Yeah,
at the dinner table.
We're gonna get copyrighted so hard.
That'd be good. That'd be cool.
That would be good for engagement. Yeah, let's get some copyright going on here. Let's start playing some music on our some stuff that's going to get us violations on YouTube. All right, well, let's move on. Go ahead, Danny. No, we're not moving on.
sorry, I had one last thing on this. Do you guys feel like the food, like keeping track of like the food log, like not even an app or chat GBT, but just like in general, like do you feel like what if you write food log, like do you guys notice like patterns or behaviors that maybe can change?
100%. But just even like anything, like when you write it down, the same like when we're trying to get athlete feedback, like just having that connection. Sometimes you do stuff and you don't even realize it, you know? So if you have to write it down, you might just even like feel it a little bit more. But yeah, 100%, you'll notice some patterns.
And you'll
Yeah,
notice like for me, I was shocked at like how low calorie some things are. Like an egg has 70 calories. I assumed it had like 120 calories. And so there's just things in there that if you write it down and do the research, you'll quickly figure out like a lot of your priors were wrong. And so, you know, going through that deliberate act, I think can make a big difference.
Nick, do you really think I'm handsome?
I do. Yeah. I do.
Okay.
I feel like I've said it a million times in this podcast. I put it in the podcast titles. I put it in the Substack today that you're handsome. Like, I don't know how much more validation you need from me, man.
I used to work at the Elbow Burger in Flagstaff, and when I was working there, and you guys would all come in, like not just you guys, but a lot of other pros would come in, like all the servers. I was telling my high school kids this. They would all just as soon as you guys all walked out, they'd be like, "Man," and somebody'd be like, "What?" Like, I just don't get it. Like all these runners that come in, like everybody's so handsome. I don't understand what it is. Like, dude, everybody loved all of you guys.
We're just walking around glowing constantly.
Dude, you eat well, you eat good, look good, or whatever, you know. So
just like
it's true. The Elbow Burger loved all you fools.
Very skinny men.
I mean, you put a lot of athletic, like 25-year-olds in the prime of their lives. Like, yeah, generally speaking, it's a relatively good-looking bunch at the athletic.
It's a big cheekbone group right there.
Yeah. Hey, I was watching a lot of younger videos of myself and Will and Danny. A lot of cheekbones, looking lean, looking muscular. It's
it's crazy.
Made me wistful for my youthful days watching some of that stuff back. But hey, check out the Substack, new Substack post, some videos of the three of us from younger days. And if you DM me, I will give you the URL to Danny Mercado's personal runner space page.
Oh
you
my
can
God.
figure out all the things he likes to do, like listen to rock
music,
go for runs, all the fun stuff. So send me a DM. I will hook you up with that runner space.
It was basically a 2007 MySpace page for sure. Yeah.
even
it was around the same time. It was around the same time.
Admiral.akbar@runnerspace.com.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I can't wait for Mandalorian and Grogu to come out. It's going to be awesome.
All right. So before we bully Danny off the podcast, let us actually move on to our next topic here. This was a topic of my choosing. We are officially 8 weeks and 5 days away from the Boston Marathon. So I was kind of doing some thinking about like what are the go-to workouts that you'd like to schedule when we're 8 weeks away from the marathon. I think it's an interesting time frame. We're kind of in the bulk of the training right now. We're starting to get into the heavy hitting sessions. So, want to do a gut check and see what are you writing for your athletes now? What do you like to write for this period of time? And I'm going to start with my man, Danny Mercado. Go ahead.
I would say there's a big workout that we did one time in Flag that I really liked. And I don't know if it's just because I nailed it that day or what, but we had a 3x3 mile workout at Lake Mary, and I did it with a few of the old like Team Run McMillan guys, and it was really good. I mean, I think it was 3x3 mile with probably a mile. No, maybe it was a half mile rest.
Yeah, I think it was usually a mile rest because they were usually pretty fast. So we're talking faster than marathon pace, or maybe like marathon working down to threshold. So pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So I think we had for those sessions a pretty good amount of recovery.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was just nice to like lock down. Well, you're getting the volume that you need for sure 8 weeks out, but then you're also getting like a good chunk of marathon workout practice. You have an opportunity for the fluids, and then you just have it also like a really good opportunity like I had that day, like for the last one to just be kind of one of those like, all right, just let go. Like you just have to let go of it and just have a good time. It's the last one. Like,
what was the workout again, Danny? What you said again?
3x3 mile. It was like 3x3 mile, 3x5K.
I love that one.
And it was awesome. I don't know what it was. I don't know what possessed me that day, but I knocked it out of the park, and I was really thrilled with it. And I don't know. Some of those like big, I feel like 8 weeks out, like you kind of want like a big volume thing, like to really just, you want that win. And it's like not the type of win that you would get from like a really good, like fast, like fartlek workout or something like a little bit shorter. It's kind of like you want just like you want one of those that, you're finishing the whole thing. You're like, dude, I really did that. Like, damn.
Dude, those ones are cool too, because when you're like really in the flow of training for a marathon, sometimes that first one can feel kind of rough, but you like tend to feel better as you go along, which is like opposite of what you expect. But like that second and third one usually feel kind of nice. Like you start getting going.
Especially if you're with a group too, because there's always somebody who's feeling good, and so who's going to push it a little bit, and you're just kind of drafting off them. You got the group energy going, everyone's vibing their faces off. Like, yeah, very fun session.
Mm-hmm.
Will, what do you got?
I'll split between a couple, but I'll go with. I've been giving this one a lot. We'll do like, depending on how mileagey the person. Next time I'm doing too much stuff with my hands.
Sorry, couldn't help myself. You just had to put this down. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with my hands now. Depending on how mileagey the person is, we'll do 20 to 35 minute warm up, and then 5 to 6 by threshold mile, jog break, couple 200s, like 4 to 6, and then come back with a hard mile at the end. So a bunch of mile reps. We'll do a little speed, get a long break, and then see if we can crush a mile, then longer cool down. But the main set's a bunch of mile reps at threshold, which I love going a little bit faster than marathon pace, and then just getting to burn the wheels out and spin them on at the end of a long day.
What would be the total volume on that session, ideally?
For higher end athletes, close to 17. Could be as low as 14. Just depend on what their mileage has been like, what their long run progression has been like, how much we do in the warm up and cool down. Like for some folks, we'll load up and do 2, 3, 4 mile cool down on that. Just more running under fatigue, but just depends on each person. But not crazy, not like 20.
All right, you had some other ones. Hit me with some more. What else you got?
I've said this one on the pod before, but one of my favorites I can just never get away from is long warm up, at least 30 minutes, then 10 by 3 minutes at threshold, good jog in between, and then 10 by 1 minute hard. And you can do whatever you got on those 1 minutes.
This leads me to a couple questions. Actually, I want to bounce off this one a little bit. So
Yeah.
when you're writing at this point in time, are you preferring to write your threshold interval work into the long run, or do you prefer to write that stuff into the daily stuff and then save the long run for more, marathon pace steady stuff? Because it sounds like your favorite sessions here are writing in those threshold workouts into the long run versus having them do that on like the midweek session. You both can answer this question.
Probably both. I'm sure I've said this a million times, but I do much less steady and marathon pace stuff than the average person or coach. And I have a lot of reasons why, just personal style and what I find effective. But when my typical structure is probably if we're a Sunday long run person, we're probably doing something thresholdy speed wise on Wednesday. And then off in the long run, we'll have some type of threshold stuff in there, even if it's just a little bit. So like 2 sessions, and one is the long run with threshold in there.
Yeah, I like doing
week.
I like doing shorter, snappier stuff like midweek. If it's going to be like a really long run, so like sometimes I'll have a run, like a long run at a certain distance that's just for time, and then the very next week it'll be the same distance, but it's going to have a workout in it. So like,
yeah,
if it's just time on your feet, then that midweek workout is like a longer tempo steady state thing. If there's going to be a long run that weekend with like a tempo in it or something like that, like fast finish long run or some threshold stuff in there, then that Wednesday, like the midweek, has got like some speed stuff in it. Like, because I want the athlete to go into that Sunday feeling like a little snappier. Like, even if it's like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, like I feel like they take that better running efficiency into the workout. Like that way it just doesn't make a 16 or 18 mile run with like a tempo in it doesn't feel like that arduous because they already did a bunch of snappy stuff before.
Yeah, kind of same. Like I'll switch off like one long run will have some threshold stuff in, and then the next week, usually, not always, but usually it'll just be like time or mileage. And then we might have 2 sessions in that week. One might, like, often if we're going to do hills or something, we'll do something like that isn't like pace focused. Or one might just be an easier, like shorter speed development day. Yeah, so it's not every long run has threshold stuff in it. But then as we like get further into marathon season, like we'll have more runs that have longer bits of marathon. Or I even started doing some up tempo, like sub marathon stuff recently.
Oh, me too. I am in love with I call it MCR, medium continuous run. That's some phrasing that comes from God, now I'm blanking on the Adam State guy, V-Hill.
V-Hill.
He calls it MCR. He has FCR, MCR, ECR, fast continuous run, marathon pace, medium continuous run, what we call like probably aerobic threshold, and then easy continuous run, which is just like easy pace. And so I've been throwing in a good amount of that, or like progressions like 6 easy, 6 medium, 6 marathon pace. I've been doing a little bit more of that recently. I just like to define it more in the run now. And usually I just be like, hey, we're going to do a progression. We're going to spend some time at up tempo. Now I'm doing a little bit more of that definition. But I asked, because my more like Lydiard-esque priors, I don't for marathoners at least, I don't write a ton of threshold into like the long runs. Like the long runs are for long runs where we're going out for 20 miles, easy to moderate, 18 miles, easy to moderate. And then we're doing a lot of marathon pace work. Like my workout for this was 5x2 miles at marathon pace, half-mile float, and then a mile or 2 at threshold at the end, just to spice it up a little bit. And that's how I'll usually integrate threshold, is right at the end of these sessions. I just want to like, hey, we're tired, we're on fatigue legs, let's really try to change those gears. And chances are maybe it's not like a full threshold mile. Maybe we're struggling to just be a little bit faster than M pace, but I just like that ability. Like, hey, we're changing gears and we're really trying to run hard on fatigue legs. But I don't write a lot of like specific threshold sessions for this block. I usually reserve those for like a Tuesday, midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday session between long runs. But that's just, I think, me. And maybe I need to change a little bit more. Maybe we need to do some more speed stuff in those long runs. But my priors just have me focusing on the aerobic aspect of that and the marathon pace aspect and the neuromuscular version of running 10, 12, 14, 16 miles at M pace in the middle of a buildup. You can tell me I'm stupid. Please do.
But I guess it's just language though, because like, what is marathon pace? Like, are you talking about goal marathon pace, current marathon pace? Like,
well, now we're getting into the real nuts and bolts. Like, I mean, it's written because of the way VDOT works. It's just written as marathon pace, but I communicate.
But like, what do you have their VDOT score as? Like, what you think their fitness is, or what they're hoping to do?
Before build-up, I set it to their goal. Typically, for most of my athletes, some athletes will progress it over the course, but most of my athletes, we're going to set it for the goal pace, and we're going to work up to that. And I emphasize running for marathon feel earlier on in the build, just to like work on that aspect of it with the goal of building into pace. And usually for especially athletes that I've been working with for a long time, we're not talking like huge changes between where they were for marathon A and where they want to be for marathon B. We're talking maybe a couple minutes. So we're just naturally progressing that anyway, but I like to set it for where they want to be in general.
Do you get worried that like maybe they look at like their easy run stuff, or if they look at some workouts and they're just like, dude, how am I supposed to survive like the very first month? Like, if the goal marathon time is different, not that much different from their current marathon time, maybe they don't get spooked that easily. But I feel like, I think I changed my VDOT number for one of my athletes, and she was just like, dude, like, what is this workout telling me right now? And I was like, oh, well, I had to kind of give her some context, but it was definitely, she had gotten initially like really kind of startled by it.
I think most are excited to see the goal pace at the end there. And again, for the majority of them, it's not a huge difference. It's not like we're not chopping off 15 seconds off their threshold paces or anything like that. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds per thing. So most of them are excited for the change. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to the next thing. Like I'm pumped for what this segment is. And might have a couple hard sessions at the beginning, but usually the beginning sessions are easy enough that that it's not a problem for them to maintain what the new paces are. It's 10 by minute threshold, 15 by minute, 10 by minute interval, 8 by 2 minutes, stuff like that. So we do build them into the new paces over time as well. So it's not just going directly into 6 by mile at your brand new threshold pace go.
Yeah,
Willie, you look like you want to fight with me.
No, it's just cool to hear how you do it. Yeah, mine's definitely way different. I move VDOT a lot with the person. Like mine's always like what I think you're at right now. And then I change that throughout. And so I think that's just why I also do more threshold, because it's like you said, like it's not as like scary if we have a session that's bigger or something. Like I mean, obviously we all have a runway into blocks and stuff, but they kind of know their threshold, and they know that they can do that session at least, and then we'll move it as they're successful throughout. But
what would each of you as athletes prefer? Would you prefer to just have your VDOT set, or would you prefer it to be more variable? Because I know I'll just go. I know what I prefer. I prefer it to be set. Like I don't want people changing that. I don't like it being changed. Like I know where I want to get, and I'm looking at that 16 weeks away, and I'm perfectly fine if I'm not hitting the splits right off the bat. Like I don't like it being changed. Maybe that's.
But then how do you know you're training in the right system then? Because like for over a 16-week block, my fitness changes a ton. Like I might start.
Yeah, but then do you know the degree, like the amount that you start to advance your fitness? Like I feel like I would probably want to just the same, because then I don't know if I end up getting assigned like a tempo run or something, and the pace in the very first, say I get, I don't know, 10 by or 3 by 10 minute or something, and like that first 10 minutes I'm like, this feels like easy, it feels great, blah blah blah, and I knock out the other two, like I might go faster, but I don't know. I guess my question is, when you're changing it, like do you know absolutely, I mean you probably don't know absolutely to the T, but do you know like how much is too much when you're changing the VDOT number? Like do you wait for the athlete feedback? Because that's where I would start to kind of run into maybe questioning myself or something. Like I think you changed my VDOT number once, and that threw me off, but it's because you slowed it down. You're running your easy runs too fast, Danny. I'm gonna assign you something slower, and it didn't take.
Like, what's your question? Like, how do I know when to change it? Like, what like?
Yeah,
like I should.
Yeah, I think it's like is it like a combination of maybe like you're just looking at the workouts and you're just noticing the trend, or is it like your athletes are telling you like, hey, I want more stuff?
It's probably like a third of their feedback, and the rest, I mean, for one, there is very little downside for it to being too low. Like if someone does like 2 or 3 workouts in a row and they were like, this was super in my wheelhouse, this was very like, this did not cause me a lot of problems, that's good. Like we want success and completion, and then like, okay, then we might move it. Never off one workout, but yeah, once we have a couple like true real threshold workouts that we're able to maintain, it's like we might start sneaking that forward, and pushing those numbers up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just like progression, momentum, like just looking over each workout and seeing what we can do, and then trying to be like 90% of that. Like we don't need to I think some people will set theirs like, here's what the fastest I could do 5 by a mile in. And it's like, it's trying to coach that and that it's the actual right effort. But yeah, I mean, just for me and like with working with people, I just see their fitness change so much. And so I want to like kind of map with that. And then it also is like a really cool way to show them progress. And it just makes everything easier. Like if you move that, then everything you set tends to be much more in line with where they're at in the cycle. But I mean, and then there's a million bits of nuance. Like I have so many people that I move that with them, but then when we get to race day, and I've communicated this before, but I'm like, your VDOT is set at 245. You are not going to run it. You're going to run a 255. Like for you, you're able to work out, but this software is not perfect. And vice versa. I have people, that are at 307 and I'm like, you're going to break 3. Like just for whatever reason, maybe you're fragile or we just didn't need that much speed in this, but like you are more than capable of this. And so, yeah, it's not a Bible to me, but it's a really helpful tool. But like, yeah, I think that just becomes like, I think that really comes into like the kind of athletes that we are. Like when I start a block, I think more than Nick, like my fitness changes drastically. I remember when I worked with Chris Derrick, we like talked about that. Like my first couple workouts are like embarrassing, but it's like, don't really feel it too much. Like it's like, like you're gonna change a lot. So don't get attached to what the number is and just go with the season. And so I think I just kind of coach that way and like moving it a lot more. And like I think the worst thing is like sometimes, especially like the first topic we talked about, sometimes when you're starting a block, it is hard to see the end of like, I remember when I ran my marathon PR, like the first workout I would do was like some mile repeats and I was running like 550. And it's like, dang, it's hard to see how I'm going to run a marathon and do 26 in a row at 520 pace. And so it's like, if that is written there, even though that's your goal, sometimes that can feel so disheartening, but it's like, no, you did. That was our goal today. 550. That's your threshold pace, baby. You crushed it. And so, yeah, I think you want to like instill that belief in people that we have the time to change and grow through this thing, but not a right or wrong strategy.
I think we're all, it's interesting just listening to this stuff. Like, I mean, me, as much as anybody else, I'm a slave to the type of athlete that I am and a slave to my priors and trying to like overcome that to coach outside of myself a little bit. It's part of the growth thing, part of something I'm working on. So maybe it'd be good to experiment a little bit more with that VDOT, moving the VDOT around a bit, because I do see the merits, but in my head, I'm still like, no, you want that. You know what you want to be. You want that out here, and that's what we're working towards. Not like this. Oh, today we're here, then tomorrow we're going to be there. It's so I just have to come out of my own
also want to avoid
lizard brain and figure it out.
That binary of like, oh, I want to break 3. Here's my 3 goal, and then we get there. And it's like, I just don't think that's what running is, and it sets up for like it's just there's so many other joys to be made out of it. And it's one of my least favorite things in the world. This happened to me so many times. You take someone who's like a 410 guy and they're like, I want to break 3. And you get them down to like 305 and they're like, I failed. I suck. And it's like, dog, do you not see what you did? And maybe we'll do it on the next one. This is incredible. Like 25%. Like you got a whole hour of your day back. You're not out there running a marathon.
You're already 3 beers deep, buddy. Like you're celebrating, my man.
I'm at the airport. It's like, this is a mind-blowing feat. And it's like, well, I wanted that goal. And it's like, so I just don't want people to like miss all the joys and successes that can be there if we have. Yeah.
I think it all is also very dependent on the athlete. Like I think for a lot of the folks that I'm coaching right now, we're working on incremental gains. We're kind of beyond like, hey, we're shaving off 20 minutes. So to go from like 307 to 305, like to adjust that VDOT isn't that big of a difference. Or at that point, I'm going to probably put it to 304.30. Like we're going for that next goal. And so things need to jump a little bit. And so I think very much dependent on the athlete versus someone who's brand new and is going to see way more variability in fitness versus someone who has been doing this for 10 years and we're working on incremental gains. Like, I do think there is a difference there in how you should approach
100%. And I think that's also like, I have no idea why, but I get so many of those athletes who are like way back and they have these big goals, and we're on this like big journey. And so we are going to make massive, I mean, I have like 30-40 minute PRs all the time. And so that VDOT journey is way different than, there's some people who like, they'll come to me with a 420 PR and I'm like, you can already do workouts at 340 VDOT, you know, like it's, so that is like a very hands-on dynamic thing of how we're moving that. But like, yeah, like for the people who you have who are like 307 guys and we're trying to take them to 302, it's just a very different, like you said, you can probably just move that down and then that's our goal. Let's try to hit these paces. And so it's very different based on the kind of jump you're trying to make.
It's very interesting because we're getting a little more insight into the type of athletes that that are maybe attracted to us. Like, you know, the type of athlete that I'm getting is someone who maybe has a little more experience and we're looking for incremental gains, and the type of Will athletes gets are looking to make big gains. And
I got some new folks. Yeah. I get some new folks that are like, that maybe have run one, but they just don't have like the structure yet. And they haven't been in a structure like that before. And it's that part's been really cool. I think that's why I'm kind of like a little more like, I don't need to change it. Like I've changed it once for somebody. And like I said, they were a little taken aback by it. They've adjusted really well. It's just,
dude, that's one of my favorite things when I move someone's down and they like, it gets people in their feels real bad.
People get butthurt. Yeah, that's.
I know why you did it to me, but
you got to be careful though, because if you don't ever move it, it is just a sign that shows people that you are active and like there and that you're in charge. Because sometimes, and if you're one of my athletes, do not touch your VDOT score. Sometimes people will, especially after they race or something. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, they've asked me if they can change it. I was like, well, I'll change it. Like, I'm like, but you should. Yeah, I always just tell them like, well, there's precaution. Like, you know, a word of caution. Like it might just because it adjusts everything, right? So then
we got to take that feature away.
Yeah, the range for the easy paces and everything, like all of a sudden that's on the higher end, and they're just like, well, I didn't want that changed. And it's like, well, that's what you get though when you change the VDOT number. Like I can adjust individual workouts and like I can change what threshold pace means. I would just have to do it every single time, which I don't mind. I don't really care. Like that part I'm fine with. I just if you change the VDOT number, it adjusts like literally everything. And I'm like, oh dude, I don't want like your easy runs to begin to like to take on the same attitude, like your attitude towards an easy run. Like I don't want it to start to take on the same the same attitude you would take for like a workout. Like I don't want them to be the same thing. I want them to be deliberately easy. So yeah, that I get kind of worried about that sometimes, but yeah, the type of athlete I get is like, you know, they're like, I haven't had structure before. I want to learn about structure and what it's like to have somebody like in your corner. And I'm like, all right, I'm down.
I mean, I definitely have both, but the vast majority of just runners in general, hence the people that I end up working with, especially in this boom that we're having of like trying to qualify for these races and majors and stuff, they are newer people. But yeah, like, I mean, and honestly, it just takes more work when you're on that journey. Like those guys that we have that are like around 3 hours, you know, like those more faster guys, it's a little bit easier of like the waves are less big and like it's kind of easy to dial in like what those numbers are.
We're looking at tenths of a VDOT score versus like full numbers of a VDOT score. Different ball game.
Yeah.
Well, that turned into a fun conversation. We got deep into some things there.
We made room for fun.
We made room for wow in this, and we left room for wow in this podcast, and we had some conversations. We made friends. We lost some friends. It was great. Danny or Will, anything else you'd like to add before we sign this one off here?
Talk to a nutritionist. We're not licensed dietitians or nutritionists. Talk to somebody. If you need to talk to somebody, and hydrate.
See something, say something.
Yeah.
Any nuggets of wisdom, Will, before we sign off?
No, I already dropped them all.
You did drop them all. All right. Well, on behalf of Will and Danny, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for listening to the Mind Your Miles podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Mind Your Miles. Find us at Substack at mindyourmilespod.substack.com. Send us an email, mindyourmilespod@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe, leave comments everywhere. On behalf of the boys again, my name is Nick. Thank you for listening to the Mind Your Miles podcast, and we will catch you next time.